GOT7's newest comeback, Eclipse, features such attractions as a moon-shaped window, collapsing stairs, and musical portrayals of separation and brokenness. Let's discuss these in reverse order in this episode of Classical Composer Breaks Down the K. Eclipse is a song about doubt, about things falling apart, and this division is foreshadowed musically from the outset. Rather than just starting with chords or melody, it starts with chords and a melody and a second modified vocal countermelodic line. So the harmonic part is doing this. And the vocal line is doing this. And the counter melody is doing this. Putting it all together, it sounds like this. The texture is clearer in the actual song when all of these layers are in different timbres rather than all being played on the piano. But while the main vocal line will probably draw your attention the most if you don't concentrate on something else, the fact that all three parts begin simultaneously slightly overwhelms perception, giving a sense that more is happening than you can fully process at once. Many K-pop songs reach this level of textural complexity, and a song like Luna's Butterfly builds up to a significantly denser texture by the end. But starting a song this way makes a statement. GOT7 aren't easing you into this with a gradual buildup of layers. They're starting with a texture already divided. And while the main vocal melody is pure, the counter melody is made up of vocal fragments, chopped electronically into little shards of sound, often panning between sides. Like the texture, this isn't inherently unusual in K-pop, but its use here supports the themes of Eclipse, of something so familiar and human as the voice being fragmented. Let's move forward to the first chorus, which lands with a drop, which is appropriate because eclipses are part of nature, and drops are also a part of nature. It's a nice solid bass note, but it's not on the tonic, that is the most stable note of the key. Eclipse has been somewhat ambiguously either in E major or C sharp minor, but the bass lands on F sharp. So it drops, but not onto something quite stable, like it landed on a floor that was tilted and is still trying to move toward true stability. And it does move, with the bass working its way up to C sharp, a sort of stability or home. But it reaches C sharp at a point that is rhythmically de-emphasized before being thrown back down to F sharp on the next strong beat. And speaking of rhythm, it's a 3-3-2. That is, the bass notes have lengths of 1-2-3, 1-2-3, 1-2 within the measure. This adds a bit of syncopation and energy compared to putting them straight on the quarter notes, such as, which would be rather square and boring. With the 3-3-2, it sounds like, the 3-3-2 pattern is still fairly common. They're not doing something unusual rhythmically, but they're going somewhere with this, and we'll come back to it. Everything I've been talking about applies to the second verse through chorus, but let's move on to look at the bridge. The bridge starts out sparse, in contrast with the generally thick textures of the song up to this point, but then starts building up with triplet rap, which is normal, and the chopped voice sounds, which have been happening, and then adds in the brrrr. Now, brrrr is a fairly common vocal technique at this point. Various groups, including GOT7 in past songs, have used it, and it's very similar to the technique used to produce flutter tonguing on wind instruments. But its usage, in the context of this song, continues the theme of fragmentation. It's a way, without electronic manipulation, of taking what could be a smooth, pure sound, doo, and breaking it into a few tiny bits of sound. And then we hit the third chorus. Now, I'm aware that the drop/dance break is not in the album version of the song, but I'm going to talk about it here because it is in the MV, which you've presumably seen if you're watching this video, and it makes the song better, not just as an opportunity for dance, but as a culmination of the concepts that have been developing throughout the song thus far. The 3-3-2 pattern from before is back, but this time it's at half speed, with the kick drum hitting 1-2-3, 1-2-3, 1-2. The slower pace adds emphasis, making each beat feel heavier. The 3-3-2 being half speed could risk losing energy, except that there's a much more elaborate drop happening than before, with a glitchy sounding bass, which, in its glitchiness, continues the fragmented texture from the and so it feels more emphatic, more active, and more broken than the song's previous drops. After almost continuous singing for over 3 minutes, they lose their voices for about 10 seconds. And so the return of their voices after that absence adds intensity to the final part of that chorus. Eclipse, while using elements familiar from other music, assimilates them to complement the lyrical and visual themes of the song by musically dividing and breaking apart into fragments and layers. As for the collapsing stairs, there have been warnings about the stairs. We have been told about the stairs, and yet, it keeps happening. As for the conveniently shaped and sized window, the moon acts as a piece filling in the space, almost like it's a puzzle moon, filling in the tongue moon. And any window is a door if you're committed enough to defenestration, so it could even be a moon. Thank you for watching this episode of Classical Composer Breaks Down the K. A link to GOT7's Eclipse is, of course, in the description. Also a link to a playlist of other episodes of Classical Composer Breaks Down the K.